You are welcome to the 12th edition, the first anniversary, when we discuss financial compliance and experiences. And to help us split the atom, we have Dr. Charles Barugahare and Francis Mwesigwa. We had keynote address by the country manager, SCCA Uganda.
Business compliance, it may refer to how well a company follows the laws and regulations governing its business. So laws will vary depending on the industry where your business is best.
If you are doing a business, you must have a TIN, which is issued by URA to identify the taxpayers. Now, there are requirements for every person with a TIN. There is filing returns. There are times of filing returns. You need to understand how it works. Many times, URA puts a program to educate taxpayers. You just switch to another program. But you know they are providing you with the information.
His Excellency President Museveni normally talks about value addition, meaning he's talking about a good or service that you're actually taking to the market and you can actually sell and then convert it into an income.
If you don't manage your salary very well, the alternative is to exploit opportunities at your organization where you can exploit the gaps, the weak internal controls to bridge the gap that you've created. You know, my mentor in financial has said, money is like a prisoner. Money is like what? And the prison is a budget, and you are prison warder. You are the prison warder. Now, money has a tendency of escaping from prison. So as a prison warder, you do everything possible to make sure that it keeps in the prison.
Making a budget and adhering to the budget is like waking up and brushing your teeth in a company. But at individual level, how many of you have budgets and adhering to them? Any money put aside, but that is not put in an environment for growth, starts to lose value. If you put money under your bed, thinking you have saved, over 3-4 years, that money will be worth very little. To a farmer, to somebody in Ichikubo, I would look at compliance basically in relation to what Tony Robbins hinted on. Understanding, adhering, and applying the financial laws and rules.
So if you think about it on an individual basis, compliance, it's just a basic set of rules that we should abide by. It does not even, before it goes to finance, within our jurisdictions or homes, I believe we have a set of guidelines that we follow, whether it's in our workplaces, every culture, every jurisdiction, every home must be having a certain set of rules. Some are spoken, others are not, others are written, and others are even unspoken, but they are known. So compliance is quite broad. It's not just when it comes to finance. It's a state of being in accordance with established guidelines or specifications. And when we go to business compliance, it may refer to how well a company follows the laws and regulations governing its business. So laws will vary depending on the industry where your business is best, or the sector within which you operate, and depending on the structure or the identity of the company that you're running. Where is financial compliance rooted or coming from? Charles gave us a very good description of financial compliance. And it's literally regulation and enforcement of laws and rules in finance, and it ranges the entire finance spectrum. It includes adherence to a set number of policies and practices which protect the company's finances from mistakes and misuse, fundamental to managing an organization's finances. In turn, a healthy compliance structure will nurture trust in the organization with the clients, the customers, the leadership, and shareholders. We could comfortably say we've always had compliance, but it became more evident with the 2008 global financial crisis. It became an area of focus for regulators and other concerned parties in the aftermath, because they realized with adequate financial compliance, we could have decreased the overall magnitude of the recession and saved some people's retirement funds. So to help restore and maintain the public's trust in the capital markets and the banking system, mainly those because they are literally highly regulated. There was need to come up with stringent measures that govern organizations' financial systems. The regulatory landscape has since shifted, increasingly becoming more and more demanding, with varying expectations from the share and stakeholders. The pace of change, coupled with technology advancement, continue to put professionals on edge, requiring continuous learning, keeping updated and ahead, anticipating change or its impact, and working to mitigate the risks that this change is going to bring on. On an individual basis, it's inevitable for you to grow. If you're going to move from one level to another, it could be horizontal, vertical growth, but it's very hard for you to grow, whether personally or your financials, if you do not comply with some of the set rules. So for you to avoid crisis or inconvenience that will arise if you're not compliant with your bankers, your creditors, the taxman or authorities, or even the law, you must deal with complying. When I thought of if it's not financial compliance, what would it be? I think what easily comes to mind is financial crime, because you're going to, when the moment you're non-compliant, for some reason you will find your way where the criminals usually go. So at the root of financial compliance is ethics and integrity, because as a body which develops professional accountants, we have institutionalized ethics and integrity. Financial compliance can be done by other people other than accountants. However, the majority, you could come to close to 90% are finance professionals or accountants. So it is just prudent that all accounting professional bodies have ethics and integrity as the central or the gluing factor of all the attributes that professionals should have. The governance structure of SCCA puts a lot of emphasis on this, and it's in the standards and regulations. It continuously invests in research and professional insights to keep members up to date with the times, with the near future, and also to influence and drive policy within the professional bodies, both international and where we operate, and with governments, because our core role is also to advise government. So SCCA adopted the International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including international independent standards. These are issued by the International Ethics Standards Board for accountants. This code binds all members and students, and it sets out 5 fundamental ethical principles, providing a framework for addressing ethical problems. These principles are integrity, where you're required to be straightforward and honest in all your professional and business relationships. We can pause to just have that. Integrity is being straightforward and honest in all professional and business relationships. They're around healthcare, telecom. If you're interested in a particular sector, when you go to our website, this information is available. Some reports were particularly on agriculture, but the one I'm referencing for purposes of this topic today is big tech, with an update on AI and governance regulation that is being released in 2025, and global banking community, which was released last year in January. So complex times require critical thinking. I think we were having a chat earlier, and most of us who are at a certain age can only imagine what the future is going to be. But we also know that critical thinkers will still have space within which to operate. So the view of most of the risk leaders in this survey show that if a company has a set of ethical values as foundation of its risk culture, and these are aligned with an efficient risk framework, in theory, compliance with regulations would be a natural consequence. I would like to hint on where we see the regulatory landscape, which has shifted, before I can hand back to my moderator Robinson. So ethics and independence for professional accountants is very important and must be upheld, because it's only these standards that will help us to navigate complex professional challenges. The key fundamental principles of integrity, objectivity, and confidentiality must be upheld to avoid reputational risk, which is now worse with the onset of social media and unregulated media. Continuous learning is a must, which makes the role of finance literacy improvement program even more fundamental. The changed world we live in sets the pace. We are almost not in control of this. So when we look at financial compliance, it all comes down to ethics and integrity and compliance, to that at the heart of it, because the cost of not complying is heavy. It's not only crime, but you cannot undo the damage once it's done. On an individual level, on an institutional level, the reputational damage is, I think, very huge. And yet the reporting regulations or reporting requirements are only going to increase. The last 2 years, the agenda was set globally and we had to adhere, and it was mainly around sustainability, ESG, and climate finance. Now, all of a sudden, someone gets a certain office and the agenda is shaken. However, we believe the only thing that professionals can do is keep learning, keep update, and hold dearly ethics and integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to me. Good evening, and I would like to open up to the moderation so that we can go into the panel discussion and continue the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. And for those just joining us, that was the keynote addressed from the country manager, SCCA Uganda. Dr. Charles, this is now our time, our moment for question and answer. From the keynote address, we have got, in summary, a comprehensive form finance, compliance, and the implications. As we celebrate the first anniversary to a coffee farmer there in Mbende, to a shopkeeper in Kikubu, what is financial compliance?
Hey, thank you so much, and thank you so much, Charlotte, for that keynote address. And you have made my work very easy to respond to the questions that now Robinson has posed to me, because some of the answers are in your keynote address. To a farmer, to somebody in Ichikubo, I would look at compliance basically in relation to what Tony Robbins hinted on: understanding, adhering, and applying the financial laws and rules. Now, when you talk of those, they become complicated terminologies. But I want to look at it in the context of 5 aspects. The first is the law of earning. The law of earning talks about understanding that money comes from only 2 sources: a good or a service. And that if you have a valuable good or service that you are offering to the market, you are therefore able to attract earning. And anybody who wants to attract earning must understand the law and comply with that law of earning. The second law that I would address myself to is the law on saving. That you need to put some money aside towards certain causes. And the Bible makes it clear when it talks about the 7 years of harvest and the 7 years of famine or scarcity. It calls us to prepare that when we have several years of bumper, there are likely to be several years of drought. And we have seen so many sorts of droughts. One was the COVID-19 that created significant drought in terms of inflows. We have seen the effects of President Trump on employment as a serious element of drought that must drive our attention to saving. The third is complying with the law of investing. Any money put aside, but that is not put in an environment for growth, starts to lose value. If you put money under your bed, thinking you have saved, over 3-4 years, that money will be worth very little. And therefore, we have to appreciate and comply with the law of investing. Anybody in Ichikuvo, don't keep money under the bed or the mattress or dig a small hole in your compound, but put it in a manner that allows it to grow. Further, when you look at that from the context of the Bible, you look at it from the talents. Several people were given some money, and only one was able to grow it. And all the other money that was given to other people was withdrawn and actually gave it to only one who had invested it. So it calls upon us to pay attention to the law of investment. The fourth aspect is the law on giving. The law on giving is not explained scientifically, but there is some magic behind it. When you check, you will find all successful companies are actually contributing to social causes. When you check, all successful individuals are actually giving to social causes. The magic behind is such that when you go out to find out where the gaps are, you start to think deeper on how to address that challenge, and therefore facilitates you to grow. So the law on giving is a law we must adhere to. And finally, I want to address myself to the law of protecting wealth, law of protection. It is very, very easy to spend and lose money, but it is very hard to earn. When you look at it in this context, you spend 30 days working hard to earn, but that very day you have gotten that money, it is possible to blow it and finish it. So how will you create wealth when actually what you are earning through 30 days, you actually spend it in one day or in hours or in a minute? So for me, compliance to an ordinary person is understanding the rules and laws around money. Thank you.
Very much, Dr. Charles Barugahare. What an interesting definition. Francis is a chief executive officer and an accounting officer on the first anniversary with this great definition. And all in audience, what is the importance of financial compliance to an organization?
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. I want to add something on Dr. Barugahare's submission about the case of Eco Farmer in upcountry and Chikubo. I want to talk about the legal compliance. because we are operating in a legal environment to the extent that if you don't comply with the legal requirements of the regulators, you may not celebrate the first anniversary of your business. So if you are down in Chikubu, you must know the the strategic partners in in your business. Now, I've had many times when the Chikubu are engaging URA and government on some of the tax regimes and all that. But it's important to know when you are starting a business, to know your expectation as far as the regulators are concerned, so that you comply accordingly. You also need to develop internal policies to address the external laws. For instance, I want to give an example. If you are doing a business, you must have a TIN, which is issued by URA to identify the taxpayer. Now, there are requirements for every person with a TIN. There is filing returns. There are times of filing returns. You need to understand how it works. Many times URA puts a program to educate taxpayers. You just switch to another program. But you know they are providing you with information. Now, in most of the governments, the ignorance of the law is no defense, right? So it's the responsibility of a business person to know the law governing the business so that you comply accordingly. If you don't, then doom is ahead. Now, if you're a coffee farmer, there are rules governing coffee farming. You also comply with those rules. If you don't, then your coffee may not be bought in the world market. Okay? So we need to make sure we comply with the legal requirements, to make sure that our internal policies are designed to make sure that we comply with the external legal requirements. That was an addition to that. Now, to my question, I am the CEO of One by One Circle, and to my view, their compliance is a state where, financial compliance, where the set policies, set rules have been followed. Financial policies, if you have a financial manual, you have guidelines, you have procurement manual, operations manual, they have been followed to the what? To the dot. And this applies to individuals, small businesses, big businesses. You must have a guideline to make sure that it informs the decisions of the employees. And I normally tell people that if you have those policies and guidelines, don't act like government. Government, even if they don't say on the law, you are supposed, it's the onus on you to find out what the law says and comply with it. You cannot go to court and say, I do not know the law. But for businesses, you must sensitize all the staff, all the employees on those laws. And actually, after you sensitize them, make them sign for the copies as an evidence that actually after sensitization, they received the what? The copy. So that there's no room of saying, I do not know. Because when you go to court and there's no evidence that these policies were sensitized, I mean the staff were not sensitized, it will not act like government. For organizations, the staff, the employees must know the policies and regulations governing finances. And but what I normally tell people that we talk of compliance to financial policies. Yeah, I normally tell people, that also the people who sit in the boardrooms, that the biggest mistake begins in the boardroom. Because in the boardroom, the board members are supposed to decide on the right things. If there are policies, they should be right policies to drive the organization to another level. You don't think about yourself before you think about the organization. Now, if wrong policies are made within the boardroom, now people in operations will do things right. In other words, they are implementing wrong policies rightly. And the auditor will be coming to check, did you follow the policy? Now, in the boardroom, we need to make right policies that will drive the organization to another level, so that when it is cascaded down to lower levels, then right policies are being implemented that will bring change, the required change within the organization. So resource allocation, in boardrooms, many times it's to do with who speaks louder that takes lion's share. When even the resources allocated are not aligned to the strategic priorities of the organization. So let's begin with the boardroom. Right decisions, right implementation, and we'll drive right change. So basically, we are talking of financial compliance at individual level, because most of the non-compliance in the corporate world begins with non-compliance at individual level. If you don't manage your salary very well, the alternative is to exploit opportunities at your organization where you can exploit the gaps, the weak internal controls to bridge the gap that you've created. So if you are disciplined at individual level, most likely, even when it comes to organization, you will do the right thing because you already have the discipline. And I've always told people that if you want to change this country, begin at home, begin in our homes. Because the core values in our homes are the same values we take into the organization how we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Francis. Those joining us, welcome to our 12th edition. And today's topic, marking our first anniversary, is financial compliance and experiences. Dr. Charles, from the keynote address and from the opening remarks, I know your priority has been financial education, and one of the objectives is providing accurate, relevant, practical examples. How can the culture of financial compliance be deepened within systems, institutions, families, and individuals, given your experience?
Thank you so much. Before we even think of financial compliance, we must first think on the broader context of compliance. Now, compliance is as old as mankind. It is traced back to the period of Adam and Eve. I can see you laughing. What is making you laugh about Adam and Eve? Why is it traced back? Because there is something to do with the forbidden fruit. So the question I pose here is, did Adam and Eve actually comply at that time? For believers, we believe that the cost of non-compliance at that time still follow us up to this day. Do you agree? Do you agree? Correct. And therefore, to think of the culture of compliance, we have to go back to the roots. Now, compliance, in terms of financial compliance, gained root during the period of Industrial Revolution. This is because there was a shift of money being with the individuals, being handed over to managers to start managing money on their behalf. So issues of standards, of how are you going to manage my money as you invest it in the industry, as you invest it in the company, became serious. So the owner started saying, you are going to use my money to grow it. You are promising me return. What assurance, what framework are you actually having in place that can guarantee that my money is able to come back? Now, if we reflect into that perspective and say that the foundation of compliance is about the basics that are at home, that are in our day-to-day activities, then we begin to understand compliance at a different level. Now, I want to look at compliance from two perspectives. The first perspective is that compliance can be looked at an individual level. And compliance can also be looked at an institutional level. Now, for those people working with big institutions, how many people here are working with organizations that have more than 50 employees? Now,
Can tell you.
okay, if you are working with organizations that have more than 50 employees, financial compliance becomes much simpler. Why? Because there are systems, there are guidelines guiding, and there are people responsible for financial compliance. Now, when you go to individual and small to medium-sized companies, compliance becomes harder. If I go back to the organization, making a budget and adhering to the budget is like waking up and brushing your teeth in a company. But at individual level, how many of you have budgets and adhering to them? First of all, how many have budgets? Before going to adherence. How many have budgets? Before actually going to adherence to budgets. And therefore, we need to have this shift in mindset. What is basic and ordinary for an institution is actually basic and ordinary for an individual. Can an organization run without that budget and without adhering to it? So then how do you expect to run as an individual, as a small and medium-sized firm without a budget when you are not doing the good practices that are expected of you? That's the first perspective. The second perspective I look at financial compliance is around the internal and external perspective. Now, we tend to think financial compliance is external, but most of it is internal. Actually, most of the things we need to comply with are internally within us. If you are unable to wake up and read a quote every day, how do you expect to improve and comply with any financial procedure? If you cannot wake up and actually have a mechanism to know how much comes in and how much goes out regularly, how do you expect to start thinking about compliance? And therefore, if we shift it from somebody is going to see me to check how I am adhering to things, then we lose it all. Because at an individual level, who is going to check how you are adhering to certain things? For me, that's the foundation of compliance. I thank you.
Wonderful. It is indeed first anniversary. A lot of information, practical relevant examples are coming out. Francis, from where you ended, with a finger towards boardroom. How do you advise board members, and there are many here, how to support financial compliance in the organizations they serve on boards?
Thank you, Robinson. For the board members, I've worked with the board members, I've worked in the boardrooms, and I can able to tell you what happens in the boardrooms. Now, there is a tendency in the boardrooms. If, for instance, we normally in strategic planning, we say the structure should be informed by the strategy of the organization. First have the strategy, and then you ask yourself, what is the relevant structure that will help implement the strategy? And in many organizations that have done restructuring, having realized that actually the original structure does not support the strategy. They have done restructuring. Now, when you have a structure that has been informed by the strategy, then you have the right people and the right structure. Now, that's step number one. Now, step number two, when you are in the boardroom, they normally say it is sharing of the cake when they are budgeting. It's budgeting season. And every director in the boardroom wants to take the lion's share. That's the temptation and the tendency. But we advise that what should inform budget allocation is the strategy, not the way how loud you talk as a director in the boardroom. The strategy should inform the budget, because if you are allocating the budget, you should allocate it to the strategic priorities, those projects that when you implement them, those initiatives that when you implement them, they'll drive change within the organization as far as achieving the mission and the vision of the organization. Now, before you even talk about compliance, talk about right allocation of resources to strategic priorities. Don't think about yourself. Don't think about your directorate. There is even a struggle which project goes into whose directorate. Some directors have made sure that all the projects are under the office of the CEO or the MD, because these projects are scheduled with what? Lots of money, donor funding. So he says all projects are under my what? My office. But literally every project must reside in a competent directorate. If it is an IT project, why wouldn't it go under the director of IT? You see? So there is a struggle of who controls what. And that's where the challenge comes. Now, resource allocation, before you even talk of compliance, to first allocate resources in line with strategic priorities of the organization. Because all of us at different levels, from the board, senior management, up to the last person in the organization, our job description is to bring change in the organization. We manage a process, and when you manage that process, there should be a change. And we measure you by the change you have created. Even the person who prepares in the organization, he or she is measured on the change he has what? Has created. That's why in monitoring and evaluation, what you call lead indicators and lag indicators. Yeah? You have trained people. So, is there any change? Because training is an activity. So, we measure you by the output of the training, but also the change the training has created. So, many times we measure activities and we forget about the change these activities should, because these activities should be aligned with the strategy. Now, many times we are going to Ginger, for instance, that's our strategy, going to Ginger. And you find someone's activities in the organization is going to Masaka. So the activities being funded are not aligned with the organization priorities. At the end of the day, you are measuring the performance of the organization. Now you find that individual staff, they have outstanding performance and they're getting 13th check. But as an organization, performance at 50%. Just yourself, who was supposed to do the work? Individually, we are performing very well. But as an organization, we are performing poorly. There is a gap. And that's why we link planning to performance management. You cannot say the organization has performed very well and the staff have not performed very well. You cannot say the staff have performed very well, but the organization is not what? Is not performing. So, compliance begins in the boardroom. Deciding on right things, which are cascaded down to people who do things right. And that's, I think, the essence, the gap we need to address in compliance. Begin with right things, allocate resources to right things, and then monitor right things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before we go to experiences, our questions have been on financial compliance. There's going to be 2 rounds of questions, but it is going to be to both of you. And I want to start with you, Francis. Is there a cost to non-compliance? And if so, how can it be avoided? That's the first question.
Thank you very much. The cost to non-compliance is a very serious cost. And if not addressed, it can lead to the closure of the organization. I have a friend who was in construction. His company was a very close friend. I used to advise him on tax matters, which he ignored. And of course, as a former tax administrator, we normally say that once a tax collector, always when I meet vehicles with red number plates, I want to investigate how can a Hammer have a red number plate? Because during my tenure at URA, I wouldn't give it a number plate which is red. Because a number plate, they have specific requirements. Now you have come from abroad, you are driving, you are coming as a returning resident, and there is exemption for when you come with a car, if you have owned it for 12 months, in your names, it does not pay taxes. But now someone imports a hammer that has been driving to go to work. How many people have you seen driving hammers to go to work in Uganda? Now, the law does not require that. If the CC vehicle is more than 3,500, it's not exempted. Now, how to the CC of a hammer? Now, currently you can see them because people have not read the law concerning licensing of vehicles. They are the AI students, graduates. Now, non-compliance can close the organization. That guy, director of the former construction firm, he had many contracts with the MTN and the KCCA, and he never complied. I talked to him, he never listened, and he was proud of giving money to URA officers and auditors to make sure that, So I told him there's an administrative assessment you are likely to receive very soon. He could not believe. What did he receive? An administrative assessment from URA of 800 million. Now, when you receive it, it means you have to defend yourself, prove yourself that you never made that money. How do you prove it? By submitting audited books of accounts. Now, if you've not been preparing them, that means you have no defense. So if you don't have a defense, that means you have to what? To pay. Now, if you cannot pay, now what comes next is what you call agency notice. Agency notice will come and they attach all the money you have. You already attach all the money you have from the bank and transferred from your bank account to URA without any permission. The law empowers URA. So money will move from your account to URA. If you don't have money, that means you cannot get tax clearance certificate to get more contracts. What is the future of the organization? It goes. Now, that's one. But leaving alone the closure of the company, there is a cost to pay. For instance, if you don't file returns on time, that means there are penalties, there are interest to pay, and that's the cost of organization. Yeah? And then you blame regulators that, of course, they don't blame regulators. They say government. Government is what? Is bad. But the problem is you never complied with the required laws. So it's important to understand the regulations governing the business you are in and comply to avoid penalties, to avoid high taxation, to avoid even closure. Because when you are, as an individual, you can be stressed. But even organization to get what? Get stressed. And I can advise that if you are an employee in an organization, if you are not compliant, or you are one of the people that are causing the issue to be not compliant, you are like someone seated on a branch of a tree and you are cutting it. Because when the organization closes, you also what? Lose the job. So you must make sure that you comply, support compliance, so that the organization can survive for the next so many years. So it is a cost, and we have to make sure that we don't suffer any unnecessary costs because of non-compliance. It's important we engage consultants, advisors to advise us on legal requirements. Like, for instance, in the circle, we have a requirement from the Financial Intelligence Authority. There is an anti-money laundering program. And we have to appoint someone who is the liaison to make sure that he monitors everything that that concerns anti-money laundering. For instance, we normally receive calls from abroad. I have 1 billion, I want to pass through the SAC account, and when it goes through, you'll get 10%. Yes, someone has 1 billion abroad, and he's asking you, if I pass through your account, now you say 10% of 1 billion. How much is it? 100 million. And then you have a house at roofing stage. Now you're thinking as an individual, right? Not for the organization. The house is at roofing stage, or it's a time for taking back children to school, or it is it is VD, and they say, as you are coming, make sure you come with a full what? Balance. And someone is giving 100 million. And you say, send. You send. money will come. It will arrive on the what? On the account. You can withdraw the money, but this it is not possible. You can withdraw the money, hand it over to the person, and he gives you what? 100 million. But Financial Intelligence Authority will get to dig down and know where it came from. And then when they know that it landed on your account, SACCO account, the SACCO will close. Have you heard about some NGOs that were closed? By government? They are allowing, it is said that they are allowing bad money to pass through the what? The account. So government is very serious that if you mismanage, if you don't follow the law, closing is very, very what? You have had banks which close, right? They don't follow the regulators guideline of Bank of Uganda. They close. So it's important that when you're working on an organization, make sure you close. Otherwise, the cost to pay is high. Withholding tax. When someone surprises you and you're withholding tax agent, withhold and remit to URA. There are timelines. If you don't submit by 15th of the following month, then it means there is a what? A penalty. 200,000 per month. If you correct pay as you earn, submit. If you don't, there is a penalty every month. So many things. So it's important that we understand the law governing our businesses and comply. Otherwise, the cost is high to the extent that the company can close. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis, for that great illustration. Same question to Dr. Charles Barugahare.
Wow. Now, when an authority has spoken, it becomes challenging. But for me, I will build from the perspective of Adam and Eve. We have said that the cost of non-compliance for Adam and Eve is still even being incurred today. And that is a huge cost. And therefore, for me, I want to look at financial non-compliance cost at an individual level. Now, if you look at not complying with the law of earning, what cost are you going to pay for your lifetime? His Excellency President Museveni normally talks about value addition, meaning he's talking about a good or service that you're actually taking to the market and you can actually sell and then convert it into an income. Now, if you have not understood that law, then you will have actually nothing to take to the market. And when you have nothing to take to the market, you will actually have a huge cost from the time you start working, actually the time you retire. And I normally give this example. It's easier to go to work and do just basic work. But the income, more income, is in the value you actually create while at work. Why do I say this? You will find somebody joined as a junior accountant and is retiring as a junior accountant. Yet another person actually joined much later because he's creative, he's innovative, is promoted, is shifted to other responsibilities, and you find you have somebody as a country manager, SCC, you find somebody is the head of an institution, and another one is still a basic person. That's the cost of non-compliance to the law of earning. When you go to the cost of non-compliance to the aspect of, say, creating wealth, and rather protecting wealth, you earn salary and you blow it or you finish it in one day or in 1 week. And the rest of the month, you are actually moving and borrowing left and right and center. And you even have now alternative routes to go to your home. Because everybody is saying, if this one passes here, he needs to first pay me in the lockup that he picked a number of things. So the cost of non-compliance, for me, I want to look at it from the perspective of an individual and therefore challenge each one of us to go back to the basics of what each one of us needs to comply with and do a mapping Simple mapping around you. What is it that is critical for me to live throughout the month? Map it out. What is it that I can pay attention to for me to improve from where I am to where I want to be? I normally pose this question. You become a porter at a site. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Yet you know a porter earns 10,000 and a mason earns 30,000. 3 times. And you cannot think about spending some time with him or her to appreciate how he is doing, and very soon you start earning 20,000 because you are beginning to do what he's actually doing. Or you go and enroll for a short course and you are able then to triple your income within 3 years. For me, that's the angle, doctor, that I would take to the cost of financial non-compliance.
Thank you very much, Dr. Charles Barugahare. For those who are just joining us, you are welcome to the 12th edition, the first anniversary, when we discuss financial compliance and experiences. And to help us split the atom, we have Dr. Charles Barugahare and Francis Mwesigwa. We had a keynote address by the country manager, SCCA Uganda. Now, the final question, and I'm going to start from you, Charles, to Francis, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes each before we can now go to experiences. And definitely in the audience, there are also questions. We shall also be receiving questions from the audience, both online and those who are physically present here. In the last 10 years, the accounting profession, the economy in general, has experienced a lot of changes. But why is it that, despite all these changes, financial compliance remains a critical reporting requirement?
Thank you so much. I think we are talking about eating or not eating. What do I mean? You are very sure that when you don't comply with certain things, you will be hit hard. Okay? And because you will be hit hard, you still ignore. But there are also many risk takers who will say, I'm going to wait until I'm caught. I will deal with the consequences. And when we have a country or an institution which does not deal with non-compliance strongly, then you have people starting to rationalize non-compliance, whereby somebody says, so and so did this and was able to do away with it and is now much better, is looking financially better, is now looking financially strong. So for me, I want to come to the thinking that we must go to the foundations which the country manager SCCA was talking about, the issues of integrity, the issues of ethics that should be a foundation from home. If you cannot account for pocket money that you have been given, and you account properly and responsibly, then how can you think about complying when you have been allocated 1 billion shillings? It is not possible. And therefore, it is sometimes said that if you cannot handle small finances, then nature does not even open space for you to handle big money. So some of the reasons we remain small is that actually we don't manage small money well, so that it opens opportunities for us to manage bigger resources. That's would be my take.
Thank you very much. Francis, in 2 minutes.
I want to use 1 minute to talk about personal finances, because I never talked about it unless I'm very passionate about it. And 1 minute to be in response to your question. Now, personal finances, you know, money has a language. Finances have what? A language. And one of the statements it has ever said, you save me today, I save you tomorrow. It has made the promises. You save me today, I do what? I save you tomorrow. It's a principle. It's a what? A principle. You either comply with it or you don't. But the cost is also so high. Now, the other concern about personal finance, it is a discipline. You follow the discipline, the principle, or you don't, but the cost is high. If you're working without a budget, many times we say that if you don't make a budget, it means you are allowing the money to tell you where it should go. It is through budgeting that you are directing your money where it should go. Otherwise, you leave home when you are going to buy a dress or a shirt. You pass through one day, you find these chickens which are rolled in a machine like this, with a lot of oil. No, this one is in the machines along the street, rolling like this. You end up changing the program. You wanted to buy a dress, you end up eating that chicken. Because you have not followed the what? The budget. So discipline in personal finance is very critical. If you don't do that, you reach retirement, you have not put up a house, and you have 9 children. And then you start blaming government, you start blaming your brother and sisters for not supporting you. Yet you have never missed a what? A salary. So it is our personal responsibilities to plan for our lives. And one of the ways it is to comply with the financial management principles. You can choose to ignore, but the cost is what? Is waiting. What was the question? I beg your pardon.
Yeah, it was just about compliance. You are concluding before we go to experiences.
Now, yes, thank you.
Just
now,
1 minute
as
now.
members of organizations or as leaders of organizations, we are holding a stewardship role on behalf of the investors. And we are supposed to create value for them. We are supposed to have return on investment, for high return on investment for them, because it is a stewardship role. As Dr. Barugahare said, that through Industrial Revolution, managers are entrusted with the finances to operate on behalf of investors. So we are supposed to create a high return for our investors. So if we don't manage compliance, financial compliance, and the company gets high penalties and pays high unnecessary taxes, then we are reducing on the value for the shareholders. If a company closes, of course, who loses? The shareholder. So it's important that we appreciate the role of stewardship, that the money is not ours. What is only ours is the salary. Yeah. So we need to appreciate the value of stewardship, because what Mr. Barugahare said, that if you are, the Bible says, if you are faithful in the little entrusted to you, God entrusts you with what? With more. When the organization you are serving expands because of compliance, most likely your salary is likely to be what? To be increased. So there is also a benefit. So it's important we appreciate that wherever we are employed, we are entrusted money with the shareholder to create high return for him, and we cannot do it when we have not complied with the financial regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A mighty hand clap to our panelists. We are left with 30 minutes, and it is indeed a conversation on the first anniversary, financial compliance and experiences. We are going to use the remaining 30 minutes constructively And as I've said earlier, we have regulators here. We have investors here. We have board members here. We have chief executive officers here. We have academicians here, lawyers, accounting students, entrepreneurs, name it. Everyone is here. Online, Zoom, YouTube, and physical presence. We have Professor of English Language at Makerere University. You're most welcome, sir. Dr. Charles Barugahare and Francis. This is lifelong learning. If you've proven, established, and demonstrated experience, expertise, you know what industry standards is about. You know what it means to comply with laws, policies, regulations. This is the time to learn from your experience so that produce dealer on the produce street in Lira City, Commercial City, would know that from the first anniversary, this is what it means to comply. This is what I'm not been doing right. But today, I know that there's a difference between doing the right thing and doing the right thing right. From the address of the country manager, SCCA, the race landscape was summarized for us. One of the issues is the talent shortages. That despite the fact that we produce accountants on a yearly basis, we still have talent shortages. As a chief executive officer, we have employers here. How can we address this issue, especially during recruitment process? Is finance and compliance a serious requirement with some good weight when you're deciding, for example, the position of Director of Finance and Administration in an organization?
Well, thank you very much. You know, I'm passionate about strategy, and I tend to take everything back to strategy. Now, many times recruiting the human source requirements must be informed by the strategy. You have work to be done, define it very well. Then you ask yourself, what are the skill sets that I need for the person to fill this position? Without thinking of a relative, without thinking of an OB, you're only thinking of the right skill sets that is required to implement the strategy. Now, if it is an accountant that you require, then you are looking at the change that must be created by this position. Resource someone who has the skill sets that will fit in this position to drive the strategy forward. Now, that's very critical. That's why you have those written interviews, oral interviews, getting the attitude, getting the issues, testing the issues of integrity, where he has worked and all that. So it is important that the human source that you are going to recruit is informed by. So I've worked with some ministries where someone is recruited without even a desk. You are recruited, appointed, and say, but what are you supposed to do? The job description is designed after recruitment. You can imagine where it has reached. They first appoint you, and then they design what you're going to do after recruitment. So you can see. So those are the things that are killing organizations. You don't begin with the recruitment. Fight to define the need, the gap. Yeah, as far as implementing the strategy is concerned. Then you recruit someone who will able to fill that gap to drive the organization. So that's what I can say about the human resource. Many times we have so many people who are recruited. Even when you develop a strategy, they cannot fit anywhere. I developed one of the strategies of a church, but most of the pastors were above 65. Now, telling them to use a computer to report how many people have been preached to, how many people have gotten saved, he thinks you are trying to, for him, what he believes is the Holy Spirit. You don't report about evangelism, you don't about discipleship, you don't about the youth activities. He says, so many people, we had a crusade, so many people got saved, and that's the report he can give you. How many? Where are they? Who is following them up? Nothing. So we are in and then you cannot restructure. When you restructure, it means you are removing the founders in the what? You get the point? So you have a good strategy, but without a human resource to implement what? The strategy. There is a misalignment between human resource and strategy. That's what I can say.
Thank you very much, Francis. Question to Dr. I think that one is well answered, unless Dr. Charles wanted to add something. From the keynote address, the issue of cybersecurity risk came up on the first anniversary under this topic, financial compliance and experiences. What is your advice to regulators, to investors, entrepreneurs who are here?
Thank you very much. On issues of cybersecurity, I think we need to go to the foundations around the emergency of cybersecurity. As you develop a platform, you also put a team to test that that platform cannot actually easily be hacked. Now, in the process, you end up in one or another disagreeing with the person who has put in task to check whether that system can be penetrated into. And this is the person you have sent away. What do you think he's going to do when he's actually in the US and the system is virtual? So I think we need to go back to the foundations. How can you create a system, then create also people to actually test whether it can be hacked? So it means they will be every day attempting to see whether it can be hacked. And that becomes the foundation gap that I think we need to strategically start thinking about. I am not an IT expert, but the discussions I've had with IT experts, that is the dilemma they are actually dealing with. That you know in your team, there are people on a daily basis who are actually testing to see whether they can penetrate your system. So that is one. The second perspective is around the policy around IT. IT, you find the chief executive has very little knowledge around IT. You find the board has little knowledge about IT. Now, what policies can you come up with that are going to regulate and guide that professional who is very, very highly skilled? At the boardroom level, there is nobody close in that level of skill. So we must start to bring IT professionals that are highly qualified to the boardrooms to be able to start directing the thinking around policy that is actually effective. You find somebody who does not understand issues of IT is actually the one chairing the IT committee. Now, what guidance is he actually going to give? So the foundations for me for IT are still young in most organizations, particularly in Africa. And therefore, we must uplift the positioning of IT in organizations to be able to tackle the big challenge of attacks to systems, because the cost of attack to systems and to platforms that hold money, that hold sensitive information is actually very, very, very high. And therefore, also the aspects of continuous education to particularly board members to appreciate what is happening in the major IT companies so that they can also copy and apply some of those concepts and principles in their respective organizations. I thank you.
Moderator, I would like to allude to what they've both said. Where we are at now, I think organizations that still have a mindset of exclusivity are going to be hit so bad. It's important that training is done on almost a daily or a month, very consistent basis, and training across board for all. I might not be the IT expert within, but because I'm dealing with those systems, I should be empowered enough to have an understanding, a basic understanding, and support the ones who are charged with managing some of these risks to work and identify when it's bound to happen. And this, in terms of continuous training, it should be across board. We just were talking about cybersecurity right now, but I'm thinking of generally and widely, if we are to deal with a talent issue or retention, going back to what Francis, I think, alluded to, how do you ensure that you almost pay attention to all that are contributing to your product or service at the end of the day in that organization, rather than having the managers or the top leadership very highly trained and the ones who are running the operations, it's looked at as a very high privilege. So the more, organizations have to just invest in continuous training for everything that is going to be risky for their business. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It is getting interesting. The conversation is wide. We have Rotarians here, and we welcome all of you most sincerely. As we come towards the end, an anniversary like this one is a milestone. And lifelong learning comes with responsibility. You as business leaders, we are at a time when we are talking so much about ESG, but we are also at a time when we are seeing global shift. We are almost seeing mental health pandemic. How do you, in the boardroom, how do you, in your mentorship, how do you, in your training, promote performance in the organization so that they remain sustainable? People with skills are recruited and are promoted and are retained. Because one of the major challenges we have now, we have a lot of youth who are unemployed, and it is a serious concern in the region. I want to start with you, Charles. Briefly, how can we ensure a culture of productivity, performance, so that the sustainability within organizations, in line with the financial compliance, should be 2-3 minutes. And it is a very important question. I would also want to give to Francis as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson Ogwang. Before I respond to this, I want to interest ourselves to get to the audience, because the reason we are here is to largely hear from the audience, to understand, to appreciate, so that we can deal with their questions. Time is not our friend, and therefore I want us to encourage that we, if possible, do this quickly and go to the audience. In regard to performance management, I think for organizations that are large, that are big, the structures for performance management are there. The question is, are they actually adhering to those standards for performance management? This is an expert on performance management. When you go to large institutions, those structures are there. The question is, at the time of doing performance management, do they actually follow them? That's where the issue of non-compliance becomes a big problem. And now the key body that is actually supposed to oversee is the board. And when the board is also involved in supporting non-compliance, then the challenge of non-compliance becomes problematic, that we cannot sit here easily and discuss non-compliance at those institutional level. But when you look at performance at individual level, performance at small-sized companies, we have a lot to play in terms of guiding that kind of performance management, because most of the individuals, most of the small organizations don't have the tools. And they can be supported with tools that can be able to assess financial non-compliance and performance aspects that they would help them actually pick up and be better. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Francis, any question and answer, response on that, building on Dr. Charles?
Yes, thank you. Performance management, we don't have a lot of time, but you have a management guru. Peter Drucker said, what gets measured gets done. Now, in performance management, many times we don't have the way we measure our staff. They are just working. Comes to office, reads newspapers, gets instructions, does it. And now, with the compliance, take an example. In my office, in the team I lead, I have someone who is in charge of compliance to filing NSSF returns, URA returns, paying salaries and all that. Now, of course, you have to pay as you earn and file. Now, I measure that person on the time he files and pays. Because it is measured, he has to do it. And that helps me not to default on compliance. I have someone in charge of monitoring accounts to make sure that bad money does not filter through our account. So we have someone in charge of monitoring. This money has come on this statement. I don't understand where it is coming from. He reports to me. So there are mechanisms that we have introduced to measure staff on certain indicators to make sure that compliance is enforced. Now, if he's an accountant, he has to prepare. Of course, we have introduced a software which helps us to capture the books of accounts. Automatically, you can run a comprehensive income balance sheet without any using use of a calculator. So it is important that we introduce systems to help improve our performance. But what I want to mention last is that many times when organizations and you're an accountant, you are a senior accountant, you have junior accountants. You don't want to replicate yourself in the team that you lead. It is person to order, even when the organization has trained you. Now, it may not have all the money to train all the staff, but for you has been trained. Can you replicate yourself in your team so that they also know what you know? So that when you go and leave, you don't go with the organization, you don't go with the knowledge. So the tendency is some people think, or even when he's on leave and they call him, we don't understand how. Even when I'm on leave, they call me. You know I'm very important. Where I used to work, if they called you while on leave, that would be a disciplinary case. That means you have not trained your team, you have not built the capacity. It would be a disciplinary case. When you're on leave, you're supposed to enjoy your leave without any call. Actually, you can even put off your phone and attend to your coffee because you know the team is doing what? I'm the CEO of One by One. When I go on leave, work moves on smoothly without me coming into office. And I can spend 1 month without coming to office. And everything is dealt with and they know what to do. Thank you.
Wow. Can we give a great hand clap to the panelists? It is now time for you in audience to ask questions. We can extend the blue microphone to you, whether it is a general question or a specific question. Please hurry and submit your question. There's a hand here. Any question? Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you so much, the panelists and the moderator. My name is George Sentongo. I'm a business person. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank FINELIP for the financial awareness program that they have been carrying on for the past 1 year. You are welcome, my brother, Rotarian Charles Barugahare. For me, I prefer calling you a Rotarian because personally, I come from that family. We have been together with Charles for quite some good time, but he has always been on my back, saying, "You, George, you need these tools badly. Come and we'll share these tools because I know there's a very big gap." There is a very big gap. Please, George, come and join me as we continue to enlighten people about financial literacy. Once in a while, I've been enjoying your programs. Thank you so much. But always, there is this saying, even if there is a key takeaway, if you can't manage 10,000 shillings, will you be able to manage 1 billion? That one there. Sounds simple, but indeed it has got a gist of the matter. I've been measuring this on a personal basis, handling some amount of money. But when you ask me how I did use that money, my brother, I may get ashamed. So as you try to improve on this, we are going to continue sharing on this. But let me get back to my brother here, Mwesigwa, Mr. Mwesigwa, Francis Mwesigwa. I personally, of recent, in the past 2 years, gotten into a formation of saving groups. The first one is a family saving group, which I have to admit has failed to take on for the past 2 years. And now we are in the formation of starting this year. We have formed a village saving group. Now, some of these friends who have friends who are abroad, exactly what you have just said, they are saying that in the near future, they will be using our account to send money to us. And then I said, this is the very reason why I'm here, because I was chosen to be the chairman of that saving group. Does this apply? Should someone send their money through our saving group, does it mean that in the near future we are in for it? Thank you. If I may get an...
Thank you very much. That's a great question. Then the second one, and I think the final one. We should always clap for a good question. Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Aineviona Solomon, and I have 2 questions. One is going to be slightly difficult. That's what I think. But the second one is going to be very simple. So, On the topic of non-compliance, I wanted to ask what would be the best way to handle non-compliance in an organization between employees. For example, we are all employees and you find your fellow colleague or employee is not complying. Do you report the employee? Do you go to HR? Okay, the best way. Then the second question, which is probably going to be easy, are we getting certificates at the end of this webinar? Yes, those are my two questions.
Thank you very much for those difficult questions. Let's clap for the difficult questions. Then there's a third question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, the panelists. I'm Joanne Liavalokulu, and I'm a very big beneficiary of finance leap. Thank you very much for enlightening us, and I should say that I always look forward to these days, to this Wednesday, and I have two questions. One is, I should say, Dr. Charles, I really liked the way you have really brought down the compliance to real life. I liked the way you really connected this to the Bible and real life, and as I was trying to ponder, I'm here thinking, how does one apply these laws and be able to really hold them? Because we really, if we can look at, if we examine ourselves, the audience, if you examine yourself, how can we, maybe the panelists will also help us, how can I really apply these laws? Because it seems like he said, being a company, it is very easy, but on personal basis, it is really a tough one, and I'm just wondering, how can one do that? The second one is, what advice do you give to a vendor or one living on a paycheck, a monthly paycheck, to be able to comply to these laws? I'm referring to the law of giving, the law, Charles, that you really pointed out really good for us. I'm asking this because every time I attend this, I also go and share. You get? I try to share with my colleagues, my siblings, my family members, and I am really, because these are sometimes they are, someone tells you, me, I just have this money that I have. I don't have anything, and my budget is tight. So if I saved, then of course, like we have the 50, 80-20 law or something like that. But explaining this, what advice do you really give to someone with this little money, but the budget, the expense budget, we know that he has taken, Dr. Charles has taken us through that expense, but applying those things in reality to this vendor or who is earning some little money from a market something, is what I am really looking at. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's clap for the questions. We have only 5 minutes to respond to these questions, and I request that you keep time, and I'm not going to direct these questions to any specific member of the panelists, but feel free to respond to them. Thank you.
Let me begin. I will leave the hard questions to Francis. Because I will deal with the easier ones and the soft ones. Now, the issue of certificates, those who have registered and have given us their emails, both online or physically here, their certificates will be made available tomorrow online on your email. It's a digital certificate, and you will be able to receive it online if you have put a correct email address, both online or physical. The other question is about how to comply with these laws. I think we must start small and grow in understanding and applying the laws. When I was chatting with my coach, he told me that if you cannot comply with the small things, which are, for example, can you say, I will be waking up every morning and at 7 a.m. I will be praying for 1 minute and do it consistently for 21 days, then it will be possible. If you can do that small task consistently for 21 days, it is possible then to also do compliance with one law for 21 days. And when you comply with that one law for 21 days, then we have started a journey of actually transforming and conforming to compliance. And therefore, you need to pick one of them and say, is my problem saving? If my salary is 100,000, can I begin with 5,000? And do it consistently for 3 months, for 6 months, or 1 year, and see how you have adhered to that. Don't go to all the 5 laws and you want to comply with them. You will fail straight away from the start. Now, the second is the issue of giving. If you find it very hard to give, then it will also find it very hard to receive. They are two sides of the same coin. If we are here and we are interacting and you are holding on the information you know, thinking now that is the best information you have, and because you have it, it will only benefit you. You will remain with that small knowledge and you will not benefit from the angle that somebody, when you share, will look at and say, but there is another angle to it that can make it better. So I would think that I want to give a small story. You gave me a short time. I want to give a small story that was shared by Nasa Jumba, that there is a restaurant in Dubai where the owner said, every plate of food that I serve, I will contribute 1 dirham to social causes. He started the restaurant and continued up to the time of his death, complying with that decision that he made, that he's going to contribute 1 dirham for social causes. When his son took over, he doubled and said, for me, I'll be contributing 2 dirhams to social causes. At the time of starting, I don't think he had money enough to donate, but it was from the heart that started. Now the business has grown to a level that it has multiple restaurants within Dubai. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Better and clap for that. Francis,
Thank you.
about the money coming into the local account.
Now, as you begin in the circle, there are regulations, and I want to bring out some regulation. Now, if someone, according to the Financial Intelligence Authority, someone to become a member of your circle from abroad, he must have the following. 1, he must have a proven work permit abroad. He must have a proven legal status abroad. That's the law of Uganda now. He must have a tax identification number. In other words, he must be a taxpayer. In other words, that helps to identify what is the source of his income. And that means his income can be traced even where he's working. Now, someone leaves Uganda, goes to US or to UK or wherever, and he has not even gotten a green card. He has no work permit. He does not pay taxes, and is a member with the circle and is sending money. That circle is like a close. It will not celebrate its first anniversary. Closing, and some people going to prison, most of the chairman. Have I sorted you very well? Have I sorted you very well? Don't be excited about money from abroad. It can cross the circle, but also can separate you from your family. It is very serious. Financial intelligence monitors every money from abroad. So your account, when it is used for money laundering, it is an interest of government, and they will say you are the one financing rebel activities. It will not only be closed, but also the leaders of that circle, beginning with the chairman, will be separated from their families, which I wouldn't want to happen. I'm moving to the next question. Someone is not compliant in an organization, and you are in the same department, you are sharing the same desk. Do I need to report him or not? What does the human resource manual say? Because you also have to comply with the rules of the what? The rules of the organization. Does it say you report him? If you don't report him, you are it calls them a compliance. So you look at what does human resource manual, but you can also ask human HR if you are not sure of what says, what am I expected to do? And they quote for you a law. If you are supposed to report that person or not, is it your responsibility? So if you go to HR and ask them what your expectation, ask them the relevant supporting law, and you act accordingly. Now, the other concern about smaller income in Chikobo downtown, there's what we call zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting, you look at your income and list your there's what you call wants and needs, right? A need, you cannot do without it. You cannot survive. It's like oxygen. But a want, you can do without. But many times the temptation is money drives us to finance the wants before the needs. And when the needs come, and the needs cannot be postponed, you resort to borrowing. So, zero-based budgeting, you are listing your needs first in order of priority. Those who have done economics, there's what they call scale of preference. And when you choose one, you forgo two, which you call the opportunity cost. So, you first list the needs in order of what? Priority. If money is not enough, I should do A. If there is a balance, I will do B. Now, the ones should come last because they are luxuries. You can do without them. Now, even donation, you can put in a budget. You say 100,000 will go for what? For donation. 200,000 will go for supporting extended family. Now, donation will include also wedding contributions, because it's also donation. So that before your salary comes, you have zero balance. So you are planning for your income, how you are going to spend. That's why it's called directing money where it should what? Where it should go. So that, my mentor in financial has said, money is like a prisoner. Now, money is like what? And the prison is a budget. And you are prison order. You are the prison order. Now, money has a tendency of escaping from prison. So as a prison warder, you do everything possible to make sure that it keeps in the prison. Now you are here. You want to go for chicken at one again? No. That's getting out of prison. Come back to the prison. So as a prison warder, you have to do your work, keeping money into the prison because it has a tendency of escaping. Are we together? Was there then another question?
Question from the audience, from an aspiring parent, on how to induct children into the culture of financial compliance.
Personally, as a head of the family and as a priest, I run these series in my family. Financial literacy, saving, investment, debt management, everything. We have those series as part of Bible study. And amazingly, some of them have started businesses out of those what? Out of those series. Now, when I give them money to go for shopping, they bring accountability. You know, Daddy, you gave me 50,000 to do shopping. I bought soap so much. I bought rice so much. And this is the balance. Yeah? But also, before the money is released, there is a budget that is to be followed. Yeah? And we have adopted a culture of buying things in bulk. Not that I have a lot of money, but I know there is a saving when you buy things in what? In bulk. TP, why should you buy one every day? Yet, you know, at the end of the week, you are going to finish what? A carton. So buy a carton and save the profit on each what? So buying things in the bulk is not luxury. It is a saving strategy. Every week you are taking your family out. It is good. But if you cooked that chicken at home, would the taste change? At the hotel, it is 20,000 each person. But the whole chicken in the market is what? 20. So when you slaughter it, you train your children how to become good cooks. And make sure that what can be done in a hotel can be done. At least go there once in a month, but not every what? Not every weekend. Those saving strategies must be taught by their children. Otherwise, one time my child was talking to the fellow primary pupils. One of the colleagues was saying, my parents don't have money. We are struggling and don't have school fees. Then my daughter asked, you mean your parent doesn't have an ATM card? For her, orientation was, as long as you have an ATM card, you can go to the machine and get what? Whether there is money or not, what you need is what? ATM card. So I realized there was a problem. So I bought her a saving box. I told her money is what? Saved before you go to the ATM. It must have come from salary. So if there is no money that has come from salary, that means even if you put a ATM card, you cannot get money. So now she knows that money does not come from the ATM machine when it has not gone there. So you have trained them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and let's clap for this response. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen in audience, virtual and physical, I want to thank you most sincerely for your time, for the feedback, for the questions. We have come to the end of the session. We are left with 2 items, and that's the closing address. And this being the first anniversary of financial education program, we are going to cut and eat the cake. So, Dr. Charles, before you come and give these closing remarks from the country manager's opening address, there was issue of fraud. Research recently linked conflict of interest to fraud. As we discuss financial compliance and experiences, are there lessons? In 2 minutes, then you can give us the closing address.
Thank you so much. The issue of fraud and its escalating levels. Charlotte hinted on it in her remarks, but also Francis hinted on it in the aspect that the foundation of discipline, of behaviors, is in a home, not at the workplace. If we have not nurtured our children to understand that money is not from the ATM, then they will pick the ATM, they will pick the card and take it to the ATM to pick money when actually there is no money. So I think for me, we must take responsibility and continue to have these literacy awareness programs starting from home. I like the word that he has become the pastor at his home, where they handle faith, they also handle financial matters. Where is our prayer room, where we handle faith, but also handle finances, we also handle discipline, we also handle ethics in our homes. So for me, the more we continue to be .com parents, where we all reach home at midnight, then we are sponsors of fraud, we are participants in supporting and encouraging fraud. Having said that, it does not mean that we leave it at that. We must continue to create deterrent mechanisms so that anybody who attempts fraud knows the consequences. Awareness about the consequences and tough repercussions, including going to jail, but also losing your property, could be part of the serious deterrent mechanism that can slow the pace of fraud that is actually happening around us and globally.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful way to mark the first anniversary of a financial literacy education program. Congratulations to all of you in attendance and for the participation. We now come to the end of the session. The rest is now administrative. Let's thank everybody. Congratulations. Thank you so much, the country manager, SCCA Uganda, Charlotte, for the keynote. It was a lot of take-homes. We have learned lessons. We shall try to apply where necessary. Francis, thanks for being very specific, direct. It's a great experience having you as a panelist in the first anniversary. Thank you so much. Dr. Charles, I don't know where you get energy, inspiration from. Every moment with you is a learning opportunity. You're a big source of inspiration. You always make people think in a positive way. Thank you so, so much. And congratulations on the first anniversary. We look forward to more and more. May the Lord bless all of us most abundantly. So it's the time to receive Dr. Charles Barugahare to give us a keynote address. I think we have been sitting, he can't stand. Is that right? Closing, sorry. Can we stand now? Or feel free, you can talk while seated, you can stand. The choice is yours.
Okay. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I reflect back when we thought about these financial education talks. We also struggle to define whether they are talks, whether they are webinars, whether but that is now long gone. It is now clear it's a webinar. And I feel excited that we have been able to move to count 12 months, to count 1 year of financial awareness. Congratulations to all of you who have participated from the start to this point. I know some of you, the things we talked about looked rough, looked funny, but I think with consistency, we are beginning to take shape in terms of the perspective around ourselves. Nobody says a hard thing with the intention of hurting another one. It is to wake somebody up to be able to then look forward with energy, with more enthusiasm. I want to thank the panelists from the start of these webinars to this point. We have Roger Zahirwe in the audience. Thank you so much, Roger Zahirwe. We have had Reverend Father Chivi. He's not here with us. He inspired us, he made us laugh, and his memories continue to ignite us strongly. We have had Mr. Nasa Jumba. Mr. Nasa Jumba inspired us. He shared a lot of practical scenarios from downtown that some of us who are not used to downtown picked a number of lessons. I want to thank you, Francis. Francis is a very interesting personality. He has his model of value addition. Some of you who want to appreciate the model of value addition that is not common around us, you need to get interested and have a discussion with him after this discussion, because you will be amazed at the various means and ways you can create a value addition, which testifies to us that the opportunities are open. Jim Rohn made a statement that made me reflect on Francis. He said, many of us go to the ocean with a teaspoon. He says, we rather at least go with a bucket. He said, how can you go to the ocean with a teaspoon? His emphasis was, that there are many opportunities and there is abundance on this earth. But we go there with small minds, with small energy, with small effort, that the only little thing we can touch is something very, very, very small. And when I had a chance to tap into Francis's value addition concept, it made me change and significantly become better. I want to sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Charlotte. I've known Charlotte for many years. We have connected on activities of ACCA. And when I called her and informed her that, please come, she said, for you, I will not hesitate. Even if there is something on my program, I will put it aside and come. That's humbled me. And I want the audience to clap for you. This lady is a very, very busy person. For her to spare these several hours for us, there is no reward, Charlotte, we can give you, but the Almighty that can reward you. Allow me have a moment. I request Brenda to bring some gift packs. that we have prepared for some of the people. But as I do that, I want to thank everyone, because in one or another, you have made us very, very proud. You have shared ideas, you have asked questions, you have challenged us, why are we doing this? And it has made us think deeper into where finance leap is heading. And we normally say that if you financially learn, be inspired, then we'll perform. If you financially learn, be inspired, we'll perform. And because of that, each one of you has made a significant contribution. And there is no way I can stand here and fail to thank each one of you, both physical and online. But for purposes of giving gifts, I will choose a few people. You will bear with me. This is a social cause. And we have just talked about the spirit of giving. And when you give whatever little you have, then you are then able to also get some inspiration to get something. So I want to begin with our keynote speaker. And our keynote speaker, we have something very, very small, but it shows love, it shows passion, it shows commitment. Therefore, allow me hand over this small gift from Finance Leap. In addition, I'm going to hand over one of our resources. Thank you. You're welcome. Allow me handle another gift to Dr. Robinson Ogwang, our moderator. Dr. Robinson Ogwang is an interesting person. Let me first put this one here. We planned our thing of these webinars to a level that we had a day to our webinar and we had not gotten a moderator. Then I said, I know Dr. Robinson Ogwang. Let me contact him. He said, because it is you, I accept straight away. But on one condition, that you guarantee to me that you are going to be consistent so that when we start something, we are not going to abandon it. Dr. Robinson Ogwang, I hope I've not embarrassed you and disappointed you. That's why we are marking 1 year. It's a small token of appreciation. Please receive it. I want in a special way to have another small token of appreciation to Victor Nashava. Victor Nashava surprises me. We have been running programs from at 7 a.m. at our offices here. And Victor tells you, I will be the first at office at 5 a.m. And you say, are you sure you will make it? He says, leave that to me. Then for you, you come at 5:15, you find Victor waiting for you at the office. Victor is somebody who says, this we cannot fail. Victor, the other day he sent me a document that we are preparing at 3:49 a.m. High quality document that he had started an evening before. I asked him, when did you prepare this document? He said, when you gave me instructions I started. So I will have to apologize to your wife because what you have done is some denial of certain rights to your wife. So forgive me, deliver this message to your wife that I have appreciated, and thank you so, so much. I want to request Brenda to give me some more gifts that I will hand over to the distinguished persons. I want to hand over allow me, Francis, appreciate you with this moral gift of appreciation. Please receive it with humility from the bottom of my heart. When I called Francis and told him, we are making 1 year and you are going to be a panelist, he said, but I'm not used to these things of cameras and what. I said they are ordinary cameras. They don't scare people. So thank you for accepting wholeheartedly and for your valuable insights that you have shared with the audience, both physical and online. I want to invite Rogers here. By the way, the size of the envelope does not mean. Allow me, from the bottom of my heart, give you this small token of appreciation. You see Rogers here, when we look at his size, you may think he's a small person. But Rogers is a financial advisor to many billionaires. And he has been able to sit me down and say, for you to be organized, you must start thinking like the people I support. Rogers, I hope I will soon join that direction of the people you support that are of that magnitude and are of that size. With humility, take this moral gift of appreciation. I want to give the last two gifts to Brenda and to Saifa. Nedda. Tosobora kwewa. Now, the gift I'm going to give you is yellow. And it's in this envelope. Brenda is a Rotarian. When she heard about the causes of financial awareness, she said, I will volunteer my time and support this cause. Brenda wakes up very early, continues to share messages of financial awareness to almost everyone who dares to receive and to listen. Apart from those who don't listen and those who don't receive or who refuse to receive, they are the ones who don't get messages from Brenda. I want to thank you. Saifa. He's called Julius, but the name Saifa has become a brand name because his company is Saifa that manages those equipment there. I want to thank you for your dedication, for your commitment, and for your effort into this. You see passion, you see energy, you see drive. I want to thank you. I want to finally thank my dear wife. Dr. Roida Chichoncho, they say there is strength and weight beneath the wings that can actually make the bird fly. She's the lady that has been making possible for me to fly and therefore be able to provide this financial awareness for these causes. This lady, I don't think there is a gift that I can give her. The gift is beyond giving. I just have to say thank you, because what you offer is not worth a gift. So just take a hug. Just take a hug. It is more than the gifts we have given. Thank you. I want to thank my children, Charlton, Karin and Kara. Charlton, Karin and Kara have been behind the designs of the daily inspirational quotes that we share every day. It's the task I gave them. I said, you must make sure you design something that when I check and I find that it is perfect, then you qualify to be a good child. Now, I've been checking them, and they have been really inspiring to me. I don't know how about you, but they have been inspiring me, and they are sharing every day. Again, those who are physically here, I think is one. You come for a hug. You come for a hug, and you receive it, and you receive it also on behalf of the others. Thank you so much, Karim. The work you do, the work Charlton does, the work Kara does, in terms of creating this content is really well appreciated. Pass on the message. Maybe for you can get a pizza or something when they come back. You'll get a pizza and enjoy, yeah? Okay? Thank you so much. I want to request that we wind up this, and I invite Loida and the team. We have the cake here, we cut it, and we partake of it, and we call it an evening. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to continuous webinar series. The next one will be on 28th of May, and it is about saving, investment options, and strategies. Today we talked a little about those. That day we'll talk more and more about those three aspects. I want to thank you so much. May God bless you. May God reward you abundantly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. May God bless you. God reward you. Rogers, kindly join us. Guiding us.
Good evening, everyone. It is a moment of kite cutting. It is a very lovely moment. We all wait up to it. Now that it has been a full year of 12 full months, we are going to count up to 12. It's going to be January, June, October, December, March, April. Thank you so much, Financially. Thank you so much for giving back to the community, giving free trainings every month. May God